The Crucible purposely takes place during the early colonial American times of the late 1600s. Specifically, the characters are set in the Puritan town of Salem, Massachusetts, during a period of historical significance referred to as the Salem Witch Trials, where hundreds of men and women were accused of witchcraft and conspiring with the devil. It began after a group of young girls began accusing older local women of bewitching them after claiming to have been possessed by the devil. In the play, this group of young girls is found to be consisted of Ruth Putnam, Mary Warren, Mercy Lewis, Susanna Walcott, Betty Paris, and most significantly, Abigail Williams. Several women are accused of witchcraft and evil practice and sent to be tried, only to be jailed from confession or hanged from pleading not guilty. It reaches the point to where seemingly anyone could be accused of being a witch, and that it was only a matter of time before certain individuals were targeted, despite their pious backgrounds. Rebecca Nurse, for example, had been described in Act 2 of the play as, quote, so pious a woman, who had been active in, quote, 70 years of such good prayer. And yet even she was not exempt from Abigail's corrupt claims and the ignorance of the townspeople, highlighted by Reverend Hale's statement to Proctor, saying that, quote, you will never believe, I hope, that Rebecca trafficked with the devil. The fact that the girls are willing to condemn good pious women almost groundlessly reflects the desperation of the situation, as even Reverend Hale has become ignorant to Abigail's doings. He's become nearly almost convinced at this point in the plot that his town is being ravaged by the devil's work, and state that there is too much evidence now to deny it. Evidence is in pertaining slowly to the girl's claims and his own fear and imagination, which contribute to this distorted and false image that there is evil at work in Salem because of the devil. However, what he fails to realize until later in the plot is that the devil is not at work in the town through witches, but rather through the not-so-innocent daughters in Salem. If anything, they themselves play the role of witches, as they surely bewitch the community into a panic, causing the town to adopt a sense of mob mentality, determined to cleanse their society of the ones who would cast evil against them. Therefore, because of the girl's accusations and the evidence that Hale and so many others claims to be seeing with his own eyes, the Salem citizens believe that they are actually doing the right godly thing by exterminating and spiritually cleansing their town of believed witches and evildoers. However, the thought that Abigail and the rest of the girls' accusations could be deceitful and false does not even cross their minds due to the fact that fear has firmly latched its seed into their minds, causing them to be ignorant of Abigail's true intentions and causing them to accuse even the most pious of the community members of witchcraft. This only serves to drive their fear even more, because if people of even the highest pious regard in the town are so-called witches, then anyone in the town should be capable of being one also. As a result, the disparity of the witch trials is highlighted in so much that townsmen begin to overemphasize small details of people in order to claim them as a witch. People such as even Reverend Hale, for example, who interrogates Proctor and states that, and yet, quote, and yet, Mr. A Christian on Sabbath day must be in church, in order to critique Proctor and see if there is any sign whatsoever as if he could be working with the devil. Hale attempts to dig into Proctor's life, attempting to find any small, even insignificant element that he can take advantage of in order to condemn Proctor if need be, due to his personal fear of what could be evil in Salem. This investigating reflects the tension and ignorance of the society to paranoia, as the people's fear causes them to become blind to rational sense and causes them to make false claims based upon insignificant grounds. In the eyes of Salem citizens, therefore, anyone with any oddity or declared unholiness could be a witch no matter an individual's faithful background. As a result, the society enters into a crazy frenzy and experiences a domino effect of people accusing one another in a desperate yearn to finally be safe from said evil. This is all a direct parallel to the Red Scare, as the following events were reenacted in the 1950s, as citizens of the United States similarly entered into a period of mass hysteria and paranoia. The fear of communism and its spread caused by the Soviet Union's advances in atomic bomb technology and Mao Zedong's communist reform takeover in China in the post-World War II era and the early Cold War era would create a tense and fearful atmosphere of possible communist domination in the United States. This is what drove many people to believe in Senator McCarthy's claims, who claimed to having direct knowledge of over 200 government employees in the U.S. Senate Department of being loyal to the Communist Party. Fear causes people to become ignorant, and as a result, the claims that communist spies had silently entered and infiltrated American government and society became engraved into the minds of Americans, much like how the claims that witches had hidden themselves in Salem society had been engraved into the minds of the townspeople. This fear would cause similar witch hunts in the 1950s to be made, as people were warned to look out for communist activity, whether in their community, with their friends, or even their family members. Ultimately, this would lead to the blacklisting of over 2,000 government employees as a result of the investigations catalyzed by Senator McCarthy's claims. In parallel to the Salem witch trials, the result of the girls' stories of being bewitched led to the jailing of hundreds and the execution of 20 others, with others dying in their jail cells as well. In addition, the characters of the Crucible parallel to the events and tensions also illustrated in the Red Scare. Both Abigail Williams and Senator Joseph McCarthy were responsible for being the instigators and causes of each of their respective societies' mass paranoia. Each began accusing others of what they are not because they are motivated by the opportunity of self-gain, as Abigail longed for John Proctor to be her husband, and Senator McCarthy took advantage of an already communism-fearful American society in order to propel him into the national spotlight and gain recognition. Although McCarthy seemed unable to provide solid concrete evidence of American citizens secretly being communist spies, this lack in evidence proved insignificant as people believed him nevertheless, and began accusing thousands of others for being dangerous elements to their society. In parallel, Abigail was also unable to amply provide support to her claims that the local older women in Salem participated in, quote, signing of the devil's book, but was still able to persuade and prey on the fear of the townspeople, which proved fragile enough to make them not question the accusations that she and the other young daughters made. Both individuals were heavy sources of influence as a result, and would be the leaders to many followers following in their corrupted footsteps. Therefore, historical characters such as Mary Warren, Mercy Lewis, and the other girls in The Crucible acted as symbols of the public people during the 1950s, as they too contributed to the overall spread of paranoia and panic brought along by fears of communism. Without Abigail's friends, the Salem witch trials may have never taken flight and been so destructive. In parallel, without the public's role in spreading fears of communism and McCarthy's claims, the Red Scare would have been disregarded. But it was the role of the deceptive leaders' followers who contribute to the overall mass hysteria brought along by both historical events. In conclusion, therefore, there is a clear and direct similarity between the Salem witch trials and the era of McCarthyism, which is an allegory presented in The Crucible, which warns readers and audiences that history is more than capable of repeating itself. Miller intended for his play to be a cautionary tale, making a statement against the era of McCarthyism in which he personally lived in by comparing its similarities with the horrors and misfortunes of the Salem witch trials. Therefore, readers and audiences alike can be mindful of their present and their futures, weary of the fact that history may be unmindfully repeating itself at this very moment. But what's to come? What's next?